This has been an amazing week for Red Wine and Blue with all the news coverage and for our Facebook groups, all you ladies out there in Decanted, Ohio, and in our national group, Suburban Housewives Against Trump. Yet at the same time, there's this horrible feeling, right? Due to the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, a confirmation that was rushed through by Trump and Republicans who just won't stand up to him because they're afraid of losing this election. And a big part of why they're so scared, ladies, it's because of you. So we need to talk about all this. It's a lot. And I just can't believe how lucky we are to have with us the senator from Illinois, Tammy Duckworth. Hi, Tammy.
Hi.
Oh, we're so thrilled you're here. I mean, whenever I talk about you, I'm just like, do you know about Tammy Duckworth? She is the badass senator. She is the one who is not only a combat veteran of the Iraq War, but also the only woman in the Senate to give birth while in office. I mean, which is like, that's a battle too, right?
Yeah. Well, the men have been having babies for 200 years, I'm just the first senator to actually give birth to one.
Which is crazy, right?
Right.
I mean, what if like men were the ones who had to go through childbirth too? Like things might, I don't know, be a little different in Congress.
A lot different.
Yeah. Okay. So Tammy, how are you holding up? How are you staying sane? You're raising two young girls in the middle of the pandemic, and you've got this job where there's like certain people who won't even wear a mask when you go to work.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I literally go in to vote and I avoid the Republican side because half of them don't have masks. And then you've got guys, who have been positive, like Rand Paul, and you've got Mike Lee and these guys who barely quarantined themselves after they were at that White House Rose Garden event, and they're wandering around without masks. And so I just go in, vote, and get out because not only do I have two children, my Abigail, who's 5, and Miley, who's 2, my mom is 79 years old and lives with me. So I'm like a lot of women. I'm in that sandwich generation, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary during this pandemic.
Oh my gosh, we can all relate. So I actually didn't realize, Tammy, our children are the exact same age. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, 2 boys.
Uh-huh.
I know where you're at, and also that stress with the grandparents too, and just wanting to protect everyone and wanting to be so close right now to each other, but needing to stay safe. Okay, so we wanted to have you on, Tammy. I mean, not only because you are a badass in the Senate, but in particular for a very particular reason having to do with this Supreme Court nomination, now confirmation that happened 1 week before the election, because you put out an appeal to your Republican colleagues that frankly was one of the most profound and personal appeals that I've ever seen in the United States Senate, actually. So I want to read a little bit from your letter and just have you tell us about it. So your letter to colleagues described the dread and anguish you felt when you learned that Barrett, who's now been confirmed, likely doesn't believe that my little Miley and my growing Abigail should have ever been born in the first place. So tell us why you wrote that letter.
Well, I conceived both my girls through IVF after 12 years of infertility struggles. And so they were truly blessings and gifts from heaven. Amy Coney Barrett supports groups that oppose IVF and actually say that IVF doctors should be criminalized and that women at the current time should not be criminalized, but they leave open the door for the future. So basically, they believe that a fertilized egg is a human being with equal rights to the woman, and that just the act of IVF, where you lose some fertilized eggs, is murder or homicide, and that doctors who conduct IVF should be criminalized. And so that would mean that my daughters can exist. And I just remember my Republican colleagues, even Mitch McConnell cracked a smile when I brought Miley onto the floor at 10 days old when I came in to vote, and they were oohing and eyeing, and they were so generous with the baby showers and stuff. I'm like, how could you be this person who was so kind to me with my baby and then vote for a woman who doesn't think that they should even exist? And worse, my doctor should go to jail.
Yeah. So what kind of reaction did you get from that? Because that was not only so personal for you, but something that they had actually shared in with you bringing Miley as an infant, the first infant, as I understand it, ever to actually be on the Senate floor,
Yeah. Yeah.
and participating and welcoming her into the world.
Yeah.
Did they react? Did you get a response?
I didn't get any personal responses. I will tell you that my Republican colleagues have been running scared for months. For months, they don't even want to have conversations with Democrats. They are just,
Mm,
you approach and try to have conversations. You can't have a normal conversation like you used to. They are running scared, and they know what they're doing is wrong, and they know that these votes that they're taking is wrong and is really against their own personal values. But they're doing it anyway. They've sold their souls to Donald Trump, and so they don't want to face you, which is why I had to write the letter, because I tried to talk to them personally, and they were just not approachable on this. They didn't want to even talk about it. They would just say, "Okay, my mind's made up. Thank you, bye," and walk away, because they didn't want to confront the hypocrisy of their position.
wow. So for so long, there's been this idea out there, right, that the Republican Party is the party of family values. And the reaction we saw, in our Facebook groups, there was a very strong response to your letter. I wish it got more media coverage, but I will tell you, it was a conversation topic among women,
Mhm.
because we all know, every woman I know has either been on an IVF journey or has a very close friend who has. And you know how we women are. It's not just like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, my friend's going through something. You are in it with them, right?
you are.
We are
You are.
going through the steps. We are hearing about every piece of it, and it is not an easy journey.
Yeah.
And, so the first reaction was not only to resonate and connect so much with your personal appeal, but then when the vote occurred, this sense of sadness for the
Mhm.
potential of so many women who seek to have a child, and
Mhm.
that being their only path to being able to have a child, that this could be taken away from them.
It
Are
could, by the way, if
Yeah,
personhood, if this concept actually moves forward, and it will move into the Supreme Court, because this is a push that many of these groups have been pushing for a long time, and so they're working their way through the court system, headed towards the Supreme Court. And if they can establish that a fertilized egg is a person with equal rights to the woman, it means that a birth control like an IUD would be illegal, that you would be committing murder, um, by using an IUD, because it prevents fertilized eggs from implantation.
right.
So it's not, it's about starting a family. It's about birth control. It's about so many family values that I just don't understand why they would buckle down to these groups and vote for this judge.
I mean, we're all impacted. I mean, IUD, well, there's me too then, I mean, let's just put it
Yeah.
out there, right? Like, we are just
Yeah.
all impacted by this, and every woman we know. And so this notion that somehow putting politicians and Supreme Court justices with these lifetime appointments in charge of these decisions that are the most core, not only of being a woman, but a mother,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, so this idea, Tammy, like, is this going to stay, or do you think something is shifting in terms of who gets to claim family values for real in this country? Like, you, the mama on the Senate
Mhm.
floor with your baby, or those guys?
Right. I think that is shifting. I think the Republicans are losing that, which is why they're fighting so hard to stack the courts now, and that's why they have seated so many ultra conservative judges in these past 4 years, because they know that they have lost the position as defender of families. Everything that they have fought for actually makes it harder for families to exist. I mean, they won't
Yes.
support paid family leave. They don't support health insurance for pre-existing conditions. They don't support health insurance for Americans. So they have made it hard to be a family and a working family trying to survive. So this is why they're stacking the courts, because they know this is the last giant gasp. But they're still at it. We confirmed the Supreme Court justice this week. And even if Donald Trump loses on November 3rd, there's a whole month and a half that they will be packing the lower courts, every single day, multiple judges a day, all
Yeah.
of whom are on, ultra conservative lists, who believe this, that a fertilized egg is a human being.
Can I just ask, like, I'm assuming that when you brought Miley to the Senate floor, like, are there changing tables in the bathrooms at the U.S. Senate? Like, how did you
There are
manage that?
now. I
Are you
actually,
serious?
yeah, there is. There's a change. Well, I've not been in the men's restroom, but they put one in the ladies' restroom,
Of course.
the female senator's bathroom. Yes, it's in there, and I've used it. And I took a picture with it and thanked the architect of the Capitol for doing
Amazing.
that. Yeah.
I mean, you don't really want Mike Lee like changing your baby's diapers anyway, probably. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's okay to keep it there for.
But you know what? The men have children too. I will tell you though, I had to fight for the right to take her onto the floor because the way it works in the Senate is there's no proxy voting. So when 10 days after I gave birth, I had to go vote, but
Wow.
I couldn't leave a 10-day-old baby alone someplace while I go vote because you couldn't bring her on the floor. So I had to fight for the right to take her onto the floor for a vote. And I found the strangest allies when it comes to that. Now, these are the same people who just vote for Amy Coney Barrett, but they helped me fight for the right to bring her on the floor. So like Marco Rubio came up to me out of the blue. I mean, I have nothing in common with Marco Rubio, barely anything. And he came up to me and he said, Tammy, I wish I could have brought my children onto the floor. So I'm going to fight for
Wow.
you and I will work with you for that. And he was there with me to do that. And yet they're voting for these really terrible judges who, if they had their way, my girls wouldn't exist.
So powerful, Tammy. Thank you
Hmm.
for using your voice in that way. It's so inspiring to women and moms who want to make a difference to see you making it so personal in ways that we can relate to in our lives.
Yeah.
So, speaking of moms who relate, I
Hmm.
did want to bring on a couple of women from our network who have been on IVF journeys of their own. So, first, I wanted to bring on Lonnie, who is a stay at home mom in Kentucky, who started our Suburban Housewives Against Trump Facebook group. And that has just grown and grown and grown. And Lonnie's a stay at home mom, and she's a mom, but due to help from IVF.
Yeah.
And I know that's so personal for you, Lonnie. And wanted to give you a chance to just share with the senator and ask your question as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thank you for having me on, and it's an honor to get to talk to you, Senator. Um, I wanted to talk with you actually about the men in Congress. Typical men in Congress are 60 years and older, and they're white.
Hmm.
You are I believe, second of three Asian American women to
Hmm.
serve in the Senate.
There are more
And
there are more white men named John than there are people of color in the United States Senate, by the way.
that's an interesting fun fact.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach that to my son because he's always looking for fun facts,
Yeah.
and I think that would be one that he would like.
Yeah.
So, so, um, so why do you think women are slowly making our mark? But why do you think the president constantly refers to us as housewives and degrades us in that manner by calling us that? Talk to me about how you feel about that.
Well, he's scared of us. He is scared of strong women. And it shows that's who he lashes out against. He lashes out against strong women. And so he is trying to diminish us and make us less because our power scares him. The fact that we do more than he has ever done, the fact that working moms, both those who work inside the home and those who work outside the home, or all of us during the pandemic, we're all working both, inside the home. It scares him, and the power that rests with moms scares him because we are very practical and we can cut through. Can I say this we cut through the bullshit. We see the bullshit, right? And we
Yeah.
know
Oh,
how to
hell
deal
yeah, you
with
can say that.
and we deal with toddlers, so we know how to deal with tantrums and the like. And he doesn't like that. He wants people to constantly appease him, and so I think that's why he does it, to try to diminish the fact that we may be mom, we may be housewives, but let me tell you what it involves to be a housewife, right?
Yeah.
We're healthcare workers. We are people working the budget, working the financial
Right.
future of our families. If you're like me, you do all the financial stuff for the family. My
Yeah.
husband couldn't write a check if he tried because I don't know that the bank would recognize his signature.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Right?
I
my
know
my
it's.
kids my kids college savings accounts, all of that, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that we scare him and he has to diminish us.
Yeah. I agree.
Tammy, I love your answer. And I also just, Lonnie, I don't know if you saw, I posted about this in the group, but I'm so excited that when I asked Tammy if she would come and talk to our group, She not only said yes, but she was like, "Can I get in on that hashtag Housewives Vote challenge you guys have going? Like, I
I
want to
want
take
to
a
do it.
picture with my casserole, you know."
Yes.
I know. I told her yes. And I knew you would be very excited.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh my
I've
gosh,
got
we'd
a
be so
frilly apron,
honored.
and I'll do my tater tot casserole with my 2 girls.
Yes, we can't
Yes.
wait. I can just see the reaction now. It's so awesome. So anyway, thank you so much, Lonnie, for coming on and representing reporting from your children's bedroom.
Yes, yes, my youngest. I had to find a room I could lock myself in because all 3 of them are home today.
Oh, I am actually in a hallway. I don't know if you can see this, but my office turned into the kids' playroom. I'm
Oh,
actually in a hallway.
I love it. I mean, that's what women do, right? We got to make it work.
Totally.
This looks all good here, but it's literally 3 feet wide.
You are making it work. We all have our like makeshift little studios right
Yep.
here. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lottie. I want to bring on another mom, actually now too, who has kids thanks to IVF and shares that with you as well. And Kara wanted to come on and share a little bit with you and talk about what I think is all weighing on us too. Really the kind of where from here. Hi, Kara.
Hi.
Reporting in from Mason, Ohio.
Yep. Hi.
Where in Ohio is Mason?
Um,
North,
it,
south?
it is a suburb of Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
And it's one that is changing, Tammy. The housewives are taking Mason, Ohio by a storm.
I
We're
represented that kind of territory when I was in the House, the suburb of Chicago, but it was Henry Heights district for 42 years
Yeah.
before we took it over, and it's now Democratic.
Yes,
We've
same
been
things
working.
happen.
We've been working for 4 years. We've been trying. We all got woke up on 2016, and there's a large group of us, and we grow every day. So
Good for you.
thanks. Thank you for having me on. I also have 2 children from IVF. I was diagnosed with endometriosis and went through several years of infertility treatments, and was very blessed that both of my IVF experiences, we only had to do it one time, and we had both children.
I love how she says it's only one time, because it's like, 200 shots you have to give yourself.
I know, but I know so many stories of people that have to do round after round after round of IVF, and I feel so privileged that one time for each of my children, and it took. I know that I'm a very lucky person. So I know that a lot of people that have experienced IVF and just gone through multiple different experiences with having children, right now they feel very powerless when it comes to the Supreme Court, when elected judges can serve a lifetime appointment. But Dahlia Lithwick recently told us that Supreme Court justices are very sensitive to public opinion. She believes that they put off hearings, many consequential cases, because of the backlash of Kavanaugh. My question to you is, what should we be doing now to influence what happens on the court and in the weeks and months to come?
Well, I think it's exactly that. Be very public about this issue, and because these issues will come up. The first one that's going to come up, I will tell you though, that Amy Coney Barrett's going to sit in on is healthcare. So she's written to say that she does not think that the Affordable Care Act is constitutional. So she actually believes that we should eliminate it. And 7 days after the election, on November 10th, the Supreme Court is set to hear the penultimate case that they will decide, and they could actually abolish the Affordable Care Act and all of the protections for pre-existing conditions with it. And so that's the first one. But these cases are coming forward, and I don't know that she and Gorsuch and those guys are as sensitive, but I know that Justice Roberts and the other Supreme Court justices are. So making your voices heard, continuing to do what you do, growing your movement is really important, and getting that messaging out to both of your senators and all of your representatives to make it clear that this is an issue that is not going to go away. We fought off the last attempt to end the Affordable Care Act. In my first year in the Senate in 2017, when John McCain did that famous thumbs down, And that wasn't done by senators. That was done by everyday people who came every single day to the Senate and say, do not take away my health care, with their kids, people with disabilities. And it lasted all summer. And it was enough, and it made a difference. And so know that your voice does make a difference.
Kara, I think what that means is that come election day, we are just getting started.
Yep, it's
Yep.
not over.
It's
The
not
Jedi
over.
Sisters, as you guys call yourselves, and I love to call you down there in Mason, the pissed off Mason moms and the pissed off moms all over Ohio and all over this country. I mean, we're just getting started.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
let's be in this together, ladies. We have linked up arms. We have got to be strong and know. I mean, listen, if anyone knows how to make a difference, it's Tammy Duckworth and how to use her voice. So let's
Maybe we should start sending pictures of our IVF babies to the Supreme Court.
That's not a bad idea. I have two
Great
beautiful
idea.
Millions
children.
and millions and millions of IVF babies. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we are going to become co-conspirators, aren't we, Tammy? You are in it. You are in it with the housewives now.
Yep.
Okay, Kara, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
your experience, and it's so important looking forward. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I want to ask the follow-up question on that, Tammy. Here in Ohio, we have Sherrod Brown as our senator,
Mhm.
who has come here and talked to us, and then we have Senator Portman, and they voted different ways on this. Sherrod opposed Barrett's confirmation. Portman supported it, and he's up for re-election in 2022. And just when we think about elections and their consequences, there's a lot of women watching who live in states who have important Senate elections in their states 1 week from yesterday,
Mhm.
and then in other places like here in Ohio where we're thinking a week from now. How should we be thinking about that? Is it important to be already thinking about 2022? Do you think that these votes, what do we do when it comes to who our representation is and the consequences that we see in the Senate?
Well, the vote a week from yesterday, the vote on November 3rd will send a huge message to those who are running in 2022. So if you can come out overwhelmingly in Ohio for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats on the ticket, for the folks who support things like healthcare and protections for pre-existing conditions and a woman's right to have IVF, all of those things. If you come out overwhelmingly and it sends a clear signal that the people in Ohio and the folks in the United States are not accepting that what they're trying to do here with rolling back our rights. So this is a message towards 2022, as well as it is very consequential in the immediate future with what happens to our country come January 1st.
So what you're saying is that if we can flip Ohio, and also, I mean, we have more women on the ballot in Ohio in 2020, Tammy, than ever in the history of our state. Up and down the ballot, we have an opportunity to break the Republican supermajority in our state legislature, to regain a majority on the state Supreme Court. These are going to be the deciders, the decision makers. And these are, go to vknowyourvote.com, by the way, everybody, and research your whole ballot. You can see everyone who's running, put in your address, you can see your whole ballot. Because I know we ladies like to do our research. And, what you're going to see is how consequential 2020 is. And what you're saying, Tammy, though, is that if we flip Ohio, that is how we respond. So powerful to what has happened.
And all up and down the ballot as well. Understand that so many of the fights happen in the state legislatures and sometimes even in your local county. So I'll give you an example. The Koch brothers have for the last 12 years, 15 years now, been funding candidates who run for offices for things like library board of trustees. Why would they, and that's one where they could just send $1,000 to someone running for your local library board of trustees. And you think, well, that's not important. It is important because your library board of trustees decides which books are banned in your local library and your local schools. And so think about it. They are working at a very granular level, which is why you turning out to vote and voting, not just for the president, which is critically important, but all the way down to the local level, to your local school boards, to all of that. And if you want to run for office, because you can make a big difference. And these fights are happening at that very local level. Remember that we're about to go into redistricting and the gerrymandering that can happen with redistricting. A way we can fix that, you as in the state could actually vote in folks who would support independent districting. so that it can't be gerrymandered. So you can actually get true representation instead of these crazy districts that look like a plate of spaghetti.
We
That-
have that here. It's one of
Yeah.
the worst in the country in that regard. And we can fix that next year, 2021 redistricting here. But really what happens in 2020 is going to impact how fair that process is. So
Exactly.
I just want everyone to take this away. What Tammy is telling us is that what has happened with the Supreme Court this week, we respond by what happens here on November 3rd or between now and November 3rd. I know many of you have already voted. And if you have already, awesome. But you got to get all the people in your network to vote too. And we've got our early voting open here in Ohio right up until the day before Election Day. So we have lots of opportunities to send that message, but it's all connected. It's all connected. And Rob Portman, by the way, I mean, there's already a fund. I hear that's raising a ton of money to fund whoever his opponent is already. Now, people are getting engaged. We can all be a part of it.
Good.
Okay, so Tammy, before we bring a few other ladies on here to discuss all the wisdom you have shared with us and all the spine-stiffening words for this fight ahead, I did want to just close out with a little bit of my rapid fire round to make sure that we have gotten to know you as the beautiful human being you are. So, a piece of advice you would give your teenage self.
Don't be afraid to fail. Like I was as a kid, I would like practice in secret until I got good at something before I did it. And don't, the world doesn't end if you try something, it doesn't work out. I ran for office in 2006 and lost. And I was devastated, but it made me a better candidate than the next time around. It's funny because men get up in the morning, look in the mirror while they're shaving and think, how come I'm not already a senator? Women have to be asked like 7 times before they even say yes. And then when they lose, they think that it's their fault that they lost. The men, when they lose, they think, oh, the voters are just not ready for me yet. I'm going to try again. So don't be afraid to fail.
So true about that difference between men and women, but we can have each other's back and build that confidence to put ourselves out there. Okay, what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
I love what are called cozy mysteries. So yeah, I listen to them at night after my girls go to sleep, and it calms me down, and my ASMR. So, but cozy mysteries like Agatha Christie's, or sometimes it's like Miss Marple, all of those. Yeah.
Yeah, just a way to escape a little bit. Okay, the person you would most want to get a glass of wine with, this person could be dead or alive.
Madeleine Albright, actually, because ever since I was little, I always wanted to be an ambassador and live around the world, and I just would love to hear from her what it was like being the first female Secretary of State.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, my last one here for you now is pretty simple, but I think so important. One thing you're grateful for right now.
My girls. They're all the joy in my world. You know, you ask me how do I do it, and with them, there's no work-life balance, but as hard as it is, it's still the joy. You know, the one good thing about this is, you know, I get to be home with my girls as much as possible, which I didn't get to do before. Yeah. So there are, you know, upsides to the craziness of the pandemic, I guess.
Totally. Oh, we got to be able to see it. We got to be able to feel those things.
Yeah.
Okay, Tammy, I want to bring on, I think we have with us Julie, and we're going to bring back on Kara. And let's see, Laura and Lonnie are all here as well. We like to have these post-show conversations, Tammy, just to reflect on what you've shared with us, especially, you know, these are all fellow moms who are putting themselves out there in their communities to try to make a difference. Julie is our organizing director at Red, White, and Blue. Laura is a mom in Central Ohio who is just organizing her heart out. And you met Kara and Lonnie as well, moms in our network. And it just means so much that you would take the time, and as a fellow mom who is stepping up to inspire us. And thank you for being willing to make it such a personal fight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
You're welcome back anytime. All right, ladies, Julie, I will let you take it from here. Thank you again, Tammy, so much.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth.
All right, guys, I was so impressed that she was sitting in a hallway and that was her setup.
I love that.
Right.
Did you see the RBG doll too in the background? I just thought it's making me question my entire existence. I'm like,
Right? I'm gonna have to redo my background.
All right, so everyone has kind of introduced themselves. So Laura, why don't you say hi since you haven't been on yet?
Sure. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm an organizer in Columbus, Ohio.
All right, so Kara, this is your first time being dragged onto the red, white, and blue screen. How was the experience? How did you like it?
I like it. I'm not very good about being on screen, but a little nerve-wracking.
You pulled it off. You did fabulous. I thought it was great. So I just admire her so much. I felt like she was so relatable. I felt like I could totally just sit down and have a glass of wine with her, right? I felt like I was talking to another mom, and I really, really appreciate that. I know that so many of us are very concerned after the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett. So I was just going to ask you guys, what are your biggest concerns, or what are the women in your circles talking about after this confirmation? And Lonnie, I'll start with you. What are you hearing, or what are you worrying about?
I mean, for me, the night that it happened, I guess 2 nights ago, I was watching TV and hadn't seen anything else, and I got a panicked text from one of my friends, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to be sick." And I think for a lot of women, it's just been very jarring, because it feels like we might be pushed back in time, and so I think, for me personally, for my friends, I like Senator Duckworth, went through IVF. I think for me, the most threatening thing, and one thing I've always talked to my husband about, is after you finish IVF, and I think this is important for people to know if they haven't gone through IVF, you have a lot of times leftover embryos. And what you choose to do with those embryos is your choice. You can have them adopted. You can have them reimplanted in yourself when you're not cycling or anything like that, so that there's no chance of pregnancy. The woman has the choice, though. And one thing, ever since we went through IVF, that I was worried about was, what if somebody tries to take over what I can or can't do with those embryos?
Right.
And I think, to me, that's the scariest thing about, like Senator Duckworth was talking about this new nomination, and some of these fringe groups that are really trying to push their agendas onto women. To me, that's terrifying. That, I think we've all had enough time to wrap our heads around abortion, and we can debate that all day. But when you're talking about something that's as personal as IVF, and all the tears you shed, and all the emotions that go into that, and I think that's just a scary thing. And so I'm glad that Senator Duckworth has brought that to the forefront, and that we're talking about those kind of things.
Yeah, Kara, I know you've had similar experiences with Lonnie. So is that your similar concern when you heard about her nomination and confirmation, or what were your thoughts?
I have so many concerns. We don't have time to go through them all. But I actually want to bring up something that I didn't even think about until Tammy talked about the IUD. The IUD for me is actually a treatment used for my endometriosis. Without it, I would be going through a lot of pain once a month. Right now with my IUD, I won't go into details, but it basically treats my endometriosis and allows me to go without experiencing a lot of the pain and symptoms that I get with it. And for someone to say that they might outlaw that, I mean, it's not even used for me for, for purposes of protection. Or for, birth control. It's not birth control for me. It's a medical treatment. And those are things that people don't think about. It's always a black and white issue, and there's so many more things to every law that you create, and how this could affect so many people.
No, I 100% agree. And I mean, there are so many women too who are on like birth control pills, not for birth control, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're on there for menstrual issues or for other issues. And I have been hearing from my friends, I mean, I have teenage daughters, and then I have a son in college, but I have a lot of friends who have daughters in college. And that is their big concern. I mean, they really got scared after this whole process went down with her being nominated and confirmed, because they're literally coming home to their mother saying, should I go get long-term birth control? What's going to happen? I mean, I'm 52, so it's not really an issue for me anymore, but to be worried about those girls, and that is what they are thinking right now. So I think all of that is scary. And the fact, like you said, that we use that for medical purposes too. It's not simply as a birth control method. So what did you think, Laura? What were your thoughts on all of this?
Sure, there's so many things to think about, but as you were sharing your story, Kara, it reminded me of Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings, where Senator Kamala Harris, hopefully our next VP, I don't want to jinx anything, asked him, can you think of any laws that regulate a man's body? And he could come up with nothing. But yet, the government all the time, and certainly Senator Duckworth brought this up, the government is constantly trying to regulate women's bodies and tell us what to do. And these should be very personal choices. It's just not right. So I'm concerned about the long-term consequences of confirming Amy Coney Barrett as the next justice. Julie, you and I both have that T-shirt of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh yeah,
past tense had been my favorite quote that she said. When will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? And her response was, when there are 9. She said since its inception until Sandra Day O'Connor, it was always men on the Supreme Court. So why not always have women? But now we see that, we women are certainly not a monolith. We don't all believe the same thing. And having a woman like Amy Coney Barrett, who has really fringe, extreme beliefs on the court, can do a lot of damage and set back so many of the accomplishments women have clawed and fought so hard to get over the last few decades, right? It's scary to think about what that's going to mean for that lifetime installment and what's going to happen to rights, not only for women. I'm a parent of transgender kids, and the thought that they want to roll back freedoms for the LGBTQ community because they're originalists. I mean, this is just crazy. So it's scary to think about what the future is going to hold.
Yeah.
I do think that the one thing that I agree and I like that she said was that how women, I think one of the reasons that Trump is scared is because women, we get it done, right? We can handle multitasking. We can handle so many things. And so I totally agree with the sentiment that we just need to be loud, right? We need to tell the Supreme Court. I love your idea, Lonnie. We should just send pictures. Was that your idea? You said we should just send pictures, or was that Tammy's idea?
That was Senator Duckworth's idea.
Yeah, my memory, as far as my memory. But yeah, we should send pictures. I mean, we are creative, right? I mean, if Senator Duckworth does the housewife vote challenge, that would be amazing, right? Because all of us women can come together and we have a loud voice. So we definitely want, it's all about what Red, Wine, and Blue is doing, because we know the power of women combined. We are really an unstoppable force. So if you, as Katie was saying, if you haven't voted, or if you have friends who haven't voted, or family, you need to get them to vote. And they can use this vknowyourvote.com. It will work anywhere in the country. It lets you build your ballot, research all of the candidates, all the way down to the local level. Because I do want to talk about that. And I don't think people really grasp how important local politics is to your life. There's a lot of things the federal government can do, a lot of things the Supreme Court can do. But no matter what happens in the Supreme Court, the state legislatures are going to be making those decisions. Yeah. So I know that, I don't know, Kara, I know you and I got very active after 2016. Did you have a good recognition of like state level government before then?
No.
What was your realization? Like what woke you up after that?
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I was not really politically active, even though I've always been interested in politics. And after 2016, joining the Jedi group in Mason, I've learned a lot about our local politics that I had no idea. And yeah, it's extremely important.
100%. And I don't know, I know Lonnie, you've been involved in politics, and Laura and I have both do Moms Demand Action. So we've been working on that. But I think that's one big realization that is so important for people to understand the impact that your local election has and how much of an impact you can actually make on your local elections.
Yeah,
like Laura,
absolutely.
You've been to the State House, right? You've testified, or you've been there for stuff. I mean, how do you feel when you get done with one of the hearings?
It's really empowering, even though right now we have this supermajority Republican control of the legislature, just being able to get up and speak in front of them, you realize a lot of times you know more about those issues than they do. And we as citizens have the power. They work for us. So yeah, it's empowering once you get involved and realize the difference it can make in your local politics.
What do you think, Lonnie? Because you, in the Suburban Housewives group, do you see a lot of people talking about local stuff, or?
No, you really don't. And I think that is one thing that should be addressed is elections at local levels, particularly because I read a tweet or an article in the past couple of months. I can't remember when, but basically it was saying, your local elected officials, like your mayors or, things like that, those affect so much. They hire the police chief. So when we're talking about like police violence and police reform, like you need somebody who as your local level who's hiring that police chief. And most people, I think a lot of times, those are races that kind of just get thrown away for the bigger, more flashy races. But that's what actually affects your community as a whole. One of my kids is knocking on the door right now.
Your time is up.
Is there someone knocking to come in?
Good thing there's a lock on the door.
This is what we moms do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
My
trying to
husband
talk
is
to.
downstairs. They're not like out there fending for themselves. So I just want to say that.
Well, and that's what moms do, and we welcome that, right? And I love the fact that Senator Duckworth said that they did have a changing table at the Senate. Like, I was like, oh, I'm guessing that's very new. I'm guessing that was not something that was
sounds
there.
like from the way she was saying, right? Because she said she took a picture with it, so it sounds like that just got added.
Yeah, I don't know.
What year is this? 2020? Really?
Right?
There's something wrong with the fact that you have to be excited about a changing table that you take a picture with it. I mean, that seems a little like, I don't know.
But
Because our government's been controlled by men. They didn't need to have changing tables.
And how many times, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, how many times have I been at a restaurant when my children are younger and I needed to change a diaper, and my husband would say, well, my husband's a pretty good guy. He'd say, I'd do it. And a couple minutes later, he'd come walking back and he goes, sorry, there's not a changing table in the men's restroom.
Yep.
What?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it's just baffling that that's the woman's job.
It's ridiculous in 2020.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, totally. Well, and I did like her statement that there were more men named John than there were people of color in the Senate. So,
wow.
All right, ladies, if you're watching, we need to change that. We need to change the Senate big time, and Congress and our state level and all the way down the ticket. So we want to make sure you guys vote all the way down the ticket. Make sure your friends are voting all the way down the ticket. We have some amazing women running for office here in Ohio and across the country who can, make it the norm that there are changing tables everywhere, and make it a norm that you can bring your baby on the floor to vote. I mean, this should be the norm. So I hope you guys will definitely go to VinaYourVote.com to check it out. Also, please look on the Red Wine and Blue Facebook pages, because we have events. Tequila and texting. We have coffee breaks. We are doing a mimosa and messaging this weekend, where you guys can get on our app, which is called Outvote, and you can download that, enter our campaign code, and we are sending messages to our friends. We are influencing people to get out. We have really funny content that your friends will actually like to watch. So please come and check us out. We'd love to meet all of you. And I want to thank all the ladies for coming on this morning. And thank you so much again for Senator Duckworth. We appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.